Welcome back, guys, to Couples Chronicles with your boy Lloyd.
And Afiya.
So again, we're married, but we don't always agree. But we've chosen to live a life full of love, laughter, and respect. So buckle up, tune in as we tackle our chronicles for the day.
Let's do it. Okay, what's more of a red flag? Someone who's older that's never been married, or someone that's older that's been married multiple times?
I'm gonna go with someone that's older that hasn't been married.
Yeah.
And again, not everyone's objective or final goal, or final chapter is marriage, right? But let's say I meet a young woman because we're talking about older in age, right? Let's say I meet a lady, and she's in her late 30s,
right?
37, 38. And again, that's pushing. I know in this new era that we have, there's no time restraints. But if I met her and she's in her late 30s, early 40s, and she haven't even been married, proposed to, not even thought about it, I'm gonna think something is wrong with her.
Right.
Again, I repeat, not everyone's final goal is marriage.
Right.
But if that is your final goal, I would rather deal with someone who attempted and failed, I guess, if you want to call it a failed marriage, or was working towards that, and then rather than not at all.
Right.
That's just my topic.
No, I agree. I think someone that's never been married, it's very much giving commitment issues. It's very much giving, you don't believe in marriage. It's very much giving, running from a situation. I don't know. Like, I feel like if you're 50, 60, 70 years old and you...
70?
70 is
if
like...
you're 70, first of all, wrap it up.
It's like, what's the point?
Yeah, what's the point of that? Let's just let it go, but go ahead.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I just feel like if you're 50, 60 and you've never been married, it's very much giving commitment issues. Like, all right,
so
it's giving you're running from the situation.
So we both on the same side on that topic, but let's just play devil's advocate for a second and go the other way, right? So
I think if you've been married multiple times, maybe you've learned something from each marriage, right? And obviously you go into marriage wanting to get married one time. But look at Steve Harvey, right? He's been married. This is his third time. This is his third marriage. And I'm sure he's learned something from each marriage and he can take something away and hopefully, right? And at this point in his life, he's able to kind of pull from each marriage and ultimately at this point stay married. And at this point, he's written a book and he's teaching us on how to be married and stay married.
Not teaching us, but
right, but teaching the masses, right? But I don't know. I do think it is. If you've been married 3 times or 4 times, whatever, multiple times, I guess it shows me that you do believe in marriage or it's something that you do value. I'm not going to lie. I would have a lot of questions. Like, what happened between marriage 1 and 3 that it didn't work out? Like,
so with that being said, so then you would have it would be red flags on both sides.
It would. It is.
On both sides.
It is. There is no, right, but there's no perfect situation in most instances, but especially when you're older, because I think when you're dating to marry as you get older, whether that's in your 40s, 50s, 30, 40, 50, whatever, more times than not, it comes with baggage. Like, if you're 40 years old, you've probably been through some things, right? On both sides, as a woman, as a man. So it's very unlikely that you're coming to the table with nothing. And I mean, no, never been married, never had kids, never been in a relationship. And if you've never had any of those things, I have questions either way. Like, what happened?
Yeah, I think depending on how you look at it, it could be red flags on both sides now that we're talking through it. Like, for instance, personal experience, right? My brother has been married 3 times.
And I know he's watching.
This is his 3rd marriage. And I was shocked that he even got to 3 marriages. And I'm big on, I'm only getting married once.
Yeah.
And that's it. And I would like to think that, it seems like he's at the happiest point of his life right now with this marriage.
Right. And he always tells me, because I've asked him, you know me, I'm going to ask the question. I'm like, what happened? right? Like because I'm not gonna lie, when I met you and I found out that your brother had been married 3 times, it was kind of like, are they one and the same? They were raised in the same household, same parents. Like, what happened? Like, is this marriage number 1 for my husband? Like, what's going on? Like, so I had questions. I'm gonna be truthful, right? Like,
it's red flags all around.
It is red flags all around because like I would hate that if somebody looked at my brother and they looked at me, they would assume like we're one and the same because we're very much not. However, with you, and I found out your brother had been married 3 times, I was like, God, like, am I wife number 1? However, when I did ask him, he told me, God wasn't in the midst, and and as somebody for him,
and he's in church,
and he's in church, right? And so he's literally said to me, although I was in church, God was not in my marriage.
See, she talked more in depth than me than my own brother.
I'm gonna ask. I want to know.
I never heard that line.
He
from
told
him,
me that.
I don't ask as well.
Oh, I'm ask. I'm gonna ask the question.
I was just shocked that he got married 3 times. I was like, dang.
No, I
thought after
know.
1 it was done, but
no, I want to know, right? Because also too, like I said, you come from a 2-parent household. You guys were raised, I would like to think, with similar values, right? So I know marriage is something that you value, but I didn't want to step into a marriage where I felt like you were going to run at the first sign of chaos, right? Like, or at the first sign of things not going how you envisioned. And for me, somebody that's been married 3 times so young, because your brother's not old, it begged the question. I had a lot of questions. I wanted to know what happened. But to the point, I do feel like the fact that he is at marriage number 3 and to someone that has been married multiple times, it does show me, A, that you're willing to learn from your mistakes, that you believe in marriage, and that you're willing to try again, right? And so maybe you are able to reflect on marriage number 1 and 2 and say, God wasn't in the center, or these are things that I've done wrong, and I am able to reflect on those things and try to do something different. And I think it takes massive self-reflection.
So maybe the question should have been, which one has more red flags? Because it seems like they both have red flags on either side.
I think I will say, for someone that has never been married, sometimes we always talk about this, right? People change. And I think if you've never been married and you're 40 or 50 years old, maybe you changed, right? Maybe you didn't believe in marriage. Maybe you didn't believe in partnership. Maybe you did think that you could go through life without wanting to commit to one person. And maybe you woke up and realized, oh my God, I'm going to die alone. And that revelation, so to speak, brought you to a place of wanting companionship and wanting to build with someone. And I think in that regard, I would own that as my truth and say, hey, actually my beliefs changed, because that's not uncommon either. But I think if you're saying that you're the same person and you're 40 or 50 years old and you've never been married, no, babe, like, it's giving commitment issues.
So I think, just to be clear, I'm gonna give a decisive, answer again. I think I changed my answer, actually.
Yeah.
I believe that if I started dating someone and they've been married 3, 4, 5 times, I think that's too much red flags. It's either you picking the wrong people.
Right. And that's fine, because some people
you're the problem.
Right.
Like, to me, that's what it comes down. Either you're the problem, you have your judgment of character is off a little bit or something like that. I would rather take the risk of that journey with somebody who hasn't entered that.
That's very difficult.
So I think I changed my answer, talking it through.
Very difficult, because that's almost like saying, I feel like a lot of women go through these issues when, they meet a man and they have multiple children. Right? Like a woman that is coming to the dating scene and they have 2 children, 3 children, and they're trying to find companionship. It's like, well, what happened? It feels a lot of times like women feel like we're damaged goods, and you're coming to the dating scene and you're perceived in a certain light. And now, once again, you have all of these questions. Who were you dating? Were you the problem? Do you have poor judgment? Right? And it's like, no, actually, I could have just dated one person and he was a piece of shit.
You want to know why that kid situation is a little bit different? Not as it relates to this question, but as it relates to the dating scene, though. The woman is seen to be the main caretaker of the kids. So now you're fighting for time. If you have 2 or 3 kids,
right, your time
in between, unfortunately with men, it's not that or it's perceived as not be. It should be. It should be.
That's crazy. That's the problem.
It should be,
That
though.
is the problem.
I agree with you.
That is the problem.
I agree with you. But that's how it's deemed.
Right.
I'm not saying it's right.
Yeah.
But that's how it's deemed. So for another man coming in with a young woman who has 2-3 kids, it's like, I mean, outside of, you might have a crazy baby daddy.
Yeah.
But outside of that, it's like, how much time do you really have for me? You have 2-3 kids to take care of. You don't have any time for me. Whereas when a woman see a man with 2 or 3 kids, it's not that same question going through her head. It's like, oh, I'm sharing time with him and his kids.
That's messed up.
I'm just being as true. You know, I'm gonna keep it straight.
So
I'm gonna keep it a buck, like the young folks say in the street.
Because I feel like it's essentially what you're saying, right?
Not what I'm saying, what it's deemed as.
Right.
Yes, go ahead.
That's so messed up. I'm in my feelings. No, it is because I feel like it's not fair, and I feel like I always say
exist.
It
is,
know
this.
And I feel like I always say, you know, when a woman commits herself to a man and she gives him 2 children, 3 children, 5 children, you know, Nicole Murphy gave Eddie Murphy 5 kids. I would have been salty. 5 kids and you just moved on. And I'm not saying
I don't know that's the truth.
I'm just saying she gave him 5 kids. And I'm not right. And I don't. And I'm not trying to misspeak. I'm just saying for me, I'm like, I feel like you said, it is this double standard. I feel like women that can have 2 or 3 kids by a man and they find it very difficult to find a partner after. Not all, but some women, most women, right? Whereas a guy, he can have 2 to 3 children, have a first marriage, have a second marriage, have a third marriage, and not look at him any type of way.
I seen an Instagram. I don't know if it was a skit or what it was. Anyway,
like he will move on with his life.
Listen to this. The young man was on a date with a woman, and he asked her how many kids she had.
Yeah,
and she said none. She asked him, and he said he had like 4 kids.
Yeah.
She's like, what, 4? And then he had, and then she was like, you know what? With your genes, I could see.
I'm telling you.
I was like, what? That's your thinking?
Don't let him have money.
What kind of stupid thing is that?
Don't let him have money.
Like, with your genes, you should have more kids. I'm like, so that just went straight over. You bypass everything that says. He had 2 baby mamas, and he had like 4 kids, and she was like, okay with it. So that's what I'm telling you. Like, it's not viewed in the same light as women. So that is terrible. I know we kind of like, got off topic a little bit, but it's okay. Spun into a different, area, but I feel like it's really something that a lot of women go through. And it's not going to change, unfortunately. And even hearing your perspective on why women are perceived this way, like, like asking the question of why do you view women, like, why is it that we're viewed as we had misjudgment, or maybe we were the problem? Like, why is that? Like, why do you view it that way? I don't have an answer for that. Honestly.
Okay.
I really don't have an answer for that. Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. I really don't. It's like one of those double standards. It is what it is, and not that it means that's right or wrong. It's just. So once again, ladies, we have these little powwows in between our sessions every week. Okay, stay on your shit. Period. Because these men will move on with their life. Okay, and find them wife number 2 and number 3. Okay, so. These are our little powwow moments, and this is one of them because it is really heartbreaking, and I really feel like it is, like I said, it is just one of those things that I really have an issue with, and my parents have been married for 36 years, and she always tells me, Afiya, like, it is up to you to protect your marriage. Like, it was you two that took those vows, and it's nobody else to protect your union except you two. It's nobody else's job, nobody else's responsibility, right? And always remember that, because things are going to happen, things are going to come up, but you have to remember, like, who's in the marriage, like, who signed up for this, right? So I don't know. Like I said, it just really bothers me. And I know, like, I'm not saying for people to stay stuck. I'm not saying, to stay in a situation that you're unhappy with. I think it just really bothers me that like I said, a man could be married 1, 2, 3 times, have 5 kids, and happily is able to move on with no problem without women. Be a prize piece, right? And still be a prize, and still be viewed as. And like you said, if they have money, it's a whole different Whole different situation.
And still be viewed like no problem. Like still like no red flags. There's no red flags with him. But like if a woman is coming to the table with 2, 3, 4, 5 kids and one marriage, it's like maybe she was the problem. Maybe she was the issue. Maybe she has poor judgment.
My wife feels away.
I do. Like I feel like he struck a nerve with this one.
We need to move on to the other topic before we have one topic we talk about.
Now he's trying to change the topic. No.
So she said, "Powwow, ladies.
Yes.
Be on your shit."
So in case the marriage don't work out, you can move on to stay fine, stay sexy, stay educated, stick to your bag, stick to your, buy some Bitcoin, some XRP. XRP is supposed to be the next Bitcoin. I'm rooting for y'all. I'm a girl's girl. I'm rooting for y'all. Anyway.
All right, topic 2. That just went off the end. Why can't men take what they dish? Why can't they handle the things that they put women through?
I think it's just ego, right?
I think it's an ego.
I definitely, yeah.
Okay.
I think it's ego. I think that, a man can feel like he can do whatever, and especially if he's a man of stature, right? Like I've heard men, unfortunately, say like, oh, I can give a woman that's 75%, but that 25%, that I'm not giving her, she should be happy with the 75 because my 75 is more than another man's 100, right? So I feel
the high value,
high value man, right?
I don't
me
like
too.
That term. I don't like high value
me either.
anything.
Because baby,
woman,
hop
man,
off,
or anything. But
like,
anyway.
come on, yeah, I agree. Right, the high valued man, like go.
I don't know, what does that mean?
Go fuck yourself, high valued man. The Bible says a man. The Bible says a man findeth a woman. Findeth. Okay. Bring up the word. Findeth. Okay? Anyway, what was we talking about? Sorry. I got a little sidetracked.
Why can't men take what they dish?
I just think it's ego. I think it boils down to ego. I think they just really feel like, and history has proven that, women will have come back. They're a lot more forgiving. I feel like more instances than not, if a woman cheats on a man, his ego won't even let him stay. Even if he loves a woman, like, his ego will allow him to leave the relationship more than anything, in my opinion. He just thinks like, oh, this could never happen to me. Like, I'm too good for this.
Again, we're agreeing a lot today. I agree with you there. I'm on the record. You can ask my male friends or whoever I talk to. I'm able to take what I dish if I ever dish out anything.
Yeah.
I have these conversations with my male friends all the time. I'm like, bro, if you could do this to her, best believe she can do it.
He does say that. He says that.
I say it all the time. And they be like, nah, a woman shouldn't act this. I'm like, bro, what are you talking about?
Especially your friends.
It don't even sound right. If you could act this way, think this way, feel this way towards her, best believe you better be able to handle it if she act this way, think this way towards you.
Yeah.
It's a human thing.
Yeah.
It's not a woman as a man thing. Oh, but women aren't supposed to act this way. They're women. They're supposed to be. I'm like, bro, get over yourself. So I agree that it is an ego thing.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find out if there's a deeper root embedded in them. Like specific. What's a specific topic that a man can't?
We've had conversations. I like to have conversations with my husband's friends just to understand their mindset. And one of them in particular, we were at dinner for his birthday, and he was like, "Oh my God, my wife cheated on me. I would kill her."
Oh my God!
I would strangle her.
This is true. This is the true. This is the true story. And I said, "Please call me before you do that."
He literally said, "Please." And they're in marriage counseling at the moment, and he literally said, "Before you kill her, please call me." He literally was like, because he believed him. He believed him. And mind you, men cheat on women all the time. And he couldn't handle it. He couldn't handle it in that moment. Just even the idea of it, he was like, "I'm gonna kill her. Like, I'm gonna throw."
Oh my God, this sounds so bad. To her point though, she thought that he was being a little over dramatized.
Yeah.
I listen to what people say.
Yeah.
I take everything face value.
Right.
I listen to what people say. I say, bro, before you do anything, call me first. Let me talk you off that ledge because it's not worth it. If she cheat on you, bro, charge it to the game.
Yeah.
The game. Charge it to the game. It is what it is, bro.
I don't know. I guess I would really have to, I don't know. Like, you're a guy.
I am a guy, but I don't believe in that because I always say I could take whatever I dish. If I could do a thing, if I feel like I can do a thing, I got to expect that person could do a thing to me.
Yeah. But most guys don't feel that way.
I mean, whether you're hurt or not, like, it might still hurt your feelings. I'm not
Right.
saying it's not going to hurt your feelings, but don't go kill her. Don't go kill her because...
But, like, why do men feel like, you know, they can do certain things and then their partners are just supposed to accept them back with open arms?
Like you said, I think it's an ego, and, you know, the most common thing I've heard is that a woman isn't supposed to act a certain way. Mannish ways or whatever, whether it has to do with dating multiple people, how many people they had sex with, stuff of that nature is where they draw, where is that double standard that we always talk about?
Yeah.
You know, they want a virgin, but they want the guy slept with 100 girls and it's looked at as being cool.
Yeah. Not cool, but yeah.
I mean, but again, some women don't really even care about that.
Yeah.
You know, so
you feel like women are just...
I want to say it's accepting. You're going to say something like that, right?
Yeah. Like they just accept more.
I think it's becoming more, women, not women, but people, because it's both sides, are becoming more conditioned to the standards, to the double standards. It's more conditioning, and I want to call it brainwash, but it's more conditioning. Men are cool if they have multiple women, so we've been teaching, we've been rapping, singing, listening to this for years. It's conditioning her. Or woman
to feel like this is just what men
that's
do.
just what it is, and we should accept that.
That's crazy.
And do I see a way back from it? Not really, unless we condition ourselves back. So that would mean that rappers got to start singing and rapping about having one woman. That's why back in the day you had the little R&B songs and
people was in love and the marriage was working out.
Yeah, because
the relationship
we were singing and hearing about it. We was watching Family Matters and Full House, where
and the Cosby Show.
Now we watching Love and Hip Hop, where they fighting and there's multiple. So I think
society, down to the media,
society has just conditioned us to think a certain way,
right?
And I don't see it going back anytime now until the world decides that this is what's cool again.
Yeah, my mom always says for me and my house. So I guess, you know, my rebuttal to that is just, I guess, just because society is saying that we're doing a certain thing or society is saying that these things are acceptable, that doesn't mean that what you want in your life has to align with that. Like you can choose something different and you can create that.
In your house, yeah. You can control what's in your house. Once you step outside your house, you can't control too much, but in your household, you could control.
Right. So.
Cool. Let's move on. I mean, that was very straightforward. This is a funny one, kind of.
No, wait. Let me see. What is it? What is it?
Can a relationship bounce back from a denied engagement proposal?
Let me do it because let me say this one because from a guy's ego, his little feelings.
Okay, go ahead. Let me ask it.
Can a relationship bounce back from a denied engagement proposal?
Hell no.
See?
Not, at least again, it's one of those things that's a double standard, not from the man's side.
Yeah.
So a quick story. I probably told this story before. So I met my wife. How much years going on now? Close to
almost 10.
10 years.
Crazy. He taking.
So after 6 months after I met my wife, I asked her not to marry me, but I asked her, if I was to propose to you, would you say yes? She said yes. So it gave me confidence. And, you know, that she would say yes. I said that to say that I wasn't fearful for my little man feelings and man ego that she would say no. If I was to get down on one knee, because I'm old-fashioned still, and propose to my wife and she told me no, that was a wrap. The relationship end. It's not even bounced back. The relationship is deflated. They don't have no more air in it to bounce back. Because what two separate worlds were we living in where I felt that you were ready to get married, which I thought so myself and proposed to you, and in your world, we wasn't even nowhere close to that. You said no. That means we was living in two different worlds and we're not in the same place. Whether, again, you're going to come up with some, which is fine, that's your way, right? But at the very base of it, I thought we were ready to get married. You wasn't. So we're living in two different worlds.
I think that, you know, I think to your point, it starts with a conversation, right? I think the best way to avoid that, right, is to essentially find out, you know, is your partner ready to get married? Have those conversations, right? Feel the temperature, right? I disagree with you.
I'm sure. Not in a bad way. It's not a bad or
I
good,
do disagree with
Okay,
you.
go ahead. You think it could bounce back?
I do think it could
Okay.
bounce back.
This is the woman talking. I say from a male point of view.
I know that little ego. We talk about ego again.
It is what it is.
I do think a relationship can bounce back. I think sometimes, people, women, men, you just might not be in a place to be a wife at that moment, at the time. Same thing with being a husband. Like, there's a season for everything. And I guess sometimes, stepping into a season before it's time, you're not giving it its all. It's almost it's just like when you talk about the reason why marriages work out is because two people who are in the right time in their life to get married.
Timing is everything.
Timing is everything. Mm-hmm. So I think this is one of those instances where, maybe there was a lack of communication on if she was ready to get married or vice versa. Assuming he proposed to her, I'm going to say she. So assuming she was, being proposed to, maybe there wasn't a conversation. Maybe he surprised her. Maybe he was in love, and maybe, they didn't have that conversation beforehand, and now he surprised her and the timing wasn't right. Maybe she wants to travel by herself. Maybe she's still figuring out, maybe she's not sure. Maybe there's things that he hasn't shown her where she's ready to commit her entire life and commit herself to him.
So to my point, what two worlds were you guys living in?
It's not even about two different worlds. Like, maybe you haven't shown me everything that I need to see in order to commit my entire life to you.
You think when I asked you that question 6 months into our relationship, right, I didn't feel some type of, this just came out. Did you feel shocked when I asked you that?
No.
Because we were living in the same world.
Right, but we also had a lot of talks about it. We communicated about...
Not when I asked for you to marry, not the proposal. When I asked the question that if I was to propose to you. Even 6 months in.
Yeah.
Were you even shocked?
I mean, I think that the fact that there was even a conversation, took out the room and space for embarrassment, right? I think that, like I said, assuming this was a surprise proposal, right? Like, maybe he surprised her and maybe she just wasn't sure yet. It's almost like stepping into being a mother. Like, like maybe you have a surprise pregnancy and you found out you were pregnant and like you're on the fence about, do I have this child or do I not, right? Like, granted, it's not one of those things that you can come back from, period. Like, once you choose to have a kid, you can, right? You can try for a baby later on, right? But I think that in this instance, if you say, hey, maybe my mother always says it's yes, no, and maybe not right now, right? Like, my mother always tells me that. And sometimes, maybe it might not be a yes in this moment, but maybe it's a maybe. Right? Like, maybe sometimes for some people, that engagement period, believe it or not, is the maybe. Like, because it is easier to say yes than no. It is.
I disagree. A wise man once told me, if it's not a yes, it's a no. It's no maybe.
I don't know. I disagree.
If it's not a
I
yes,
disagree.
It's a no.
Like, maybe, what if we've only been dating a year? Like, maybe we haven't explored what it's like living together. Maybe we haven't talked about finances. Maybe we haven't talked about religion. Maybe we haven't talked about kids. Maybe we are two different religion, right? And now when you talk about marriage, it's like, well, we need to have a lot of different conversations. Like, am I going to convert to your religion, right? Like, are you going to convert to mine? What do we want our kids to be? Maybe I don't want to convert. Right? Maybe I'm happy in who I am, right? But you really want a wife that's of the same religion as you, right? Like, where does that leave us? Like, maybe we just haven't had those conversations yet. And now you're asking me to commit my entire life to you. And we're just not there yet.
I agree with you. But in the real world, I'm not proposing to you without those questions being answered already.
I disagree. Sometimes you might get on, maybe, what if you're all in love?
You know, this and this, and I'm asking you to marry me. I don't know if our core beliefs are the same.
But people do it. People do it.
That's nuts to me.
Yeah, but you feel like it's nuts, but people do it. Like, they do. Like, I feel like, what if we're just not there yet? Or even, and I don't remember the specifics, but French Prince of Bel-Air, right? Like, Nia Long agreed to marry Will and then got to the altar and was like, I don't know. He's like, I'm not sure. People do it, right? Like, maybe you thought you were ready for marriage, but then when you stopped and thought about it, you were like, actually, like, I'm not even sure who I am yet, let alone to become a we. And I understand that. Like, there's nothing wrong. It's like, I mean, it comes at the expense of the guy's feelings.
There's a guy. Why couldn't it be the other way around?
Because in most instances, the guy proposes to the female. So I'm not saying that,
Let's paint a picture. Same question, right? Because we talked about it, but we haven't talked about how does one bounce back from a
denied.
Yeah, as a woman, like,
I think assuming you still want to be with the person, a part of it is asking why, like what happened, like what are your concerns, right? And granted, those conversations should have been had before you got on one knee, right? So I'm not
That's my point.
I'm not taking that away from you, right? However, assuming those conversations were not had, I think it's figuring out, okay, what are your concerns? Am I just not your person, right? Or like, am I your person, but we haven't talked about these things, right? Like, or we haven't figured out a solution to these things, right? Because think about it, right? Like, if you go back to me and you, right? Like, we got married, we had marriage counseling after we got married to address my concerns about things before we got married, right? Like, those are conversations, sure, some people would have said we should have had prior to getting married. But what therapy did was it allowed us to identify the issue and come up with solutions for them. It doesn't mean that those weren't concerns of mine. Like, but some people might not even have gotten engaged, gone through with the marriage, done any of those things with these concerns in mind. And I understand that too. Like, depending on the age. See, I got married at 25. I was engaged at 21, 22, right? So like, I was young. Not say I had time to take that risk. I had time to take that risk. But if you're 35, if you're 40, you're like, no, babe. Like, I'm not trying to take that risk. I want to know. I want to have the answer to everything I have questions about prior to saying I do.
Well, no, what's not? I want to say it's not a fair comparison because of this. I want to call it double standard, but like you said, most of the times it's the male that's proposing to the woman.
Right.
So you, sorry about that. So you don't have to worry about your feelings being hurt. Because I'm the one proposing to you and you're saying no. Like, imagine from the male perspective now, or point of view, I'm going to call it the POV of the male, where I got down on one knee in front of, again, let's say, surprise, not surprise. Now, I planned this whole thing out. And more times you see in the young lady says no.
Yeah.
How do I come back from that? How do we come back from that?
I agree.
I really think...
I mean, I think it goes back to like Bryn from Housewives, right? Bryn said she's been engaged 4 times. And I'm like, well, why would you say yes all 4 times? She literally said it's easier to say yes. And it's true.
That's crazy.
It is. She's like, it's easier to say yes, right? It spares their feelings. You can break it off later.
See what I'm saying?
This is what I'm saying. But like, it is the God honest truth. Like, that's what she said, right? So
it's easy to say yes.
It is easier to say yes because it does spare your feelings. Even if you do call off the wedding or it doesn't get to that point, like your feelings are not, they're not hurt in that moment.
I respect it. I probably laugh. I would respect it, but the relationship is done.
It is. I like I said, I do think that you can come back from it. I think, assuming...
I think a woman can come back from it because, again, you're not the one being proposed. Yeah. You're the one being proposed to, so your feelings aren't hurt. Yeah. You're giving the reasons on why it's not time yet.
Yeah.
It's not you, it's me. All those questions.
But men do that to women all of the time.
On what? Not in a proposal situation.
It's not, but a man will be with a girl for 10 years. Like, I'm not ready yet. Like,
my wife is in her feelings today about
me. I'm not.
You're in your feelings today. I don't know why you're in your feelings today.
I'm just saying, you know what it is? Because when I hear you speak, I hear your truth.
You might speak from a man's POV.
I do, and I hear your truth, right? And
not every man POV is my truth, but I'm just speaking from the eyes of a man.
Yeah. No. No, I'm not disagreeing. Like you said, I agree with you that I'm sure it is easier from a woman's perspective to feel like you can move forward from a denied engagement, right? Simply because it's not her feelings or she's not the one she might be embarrassed actually thinking about it, but she's not as embarrassed as the guy, right? But I think to avoid all of these things, sure, there should be massive conversation that's had before the guy gets on his knee. But assuming that, those conversations weren't had and there was a surprise engagement, I think if you really believe that this is your person, like you'll work through it. I think it's one of those things that's just like, okay, well, maybe she's not ready now, but like,
my person. If you just told me no, you're not my person.
No, she could be saying to not right now. I disagree.
Not ever. Again, maybe I'm being a little petty, but
you don't know the saying, like, if it's meant to be, it'll come back around.
Okay, so then I wait for it to come back around. But right now, it's dead.
Right, but that's fine. That's fine.
Dead.
It
We're
can
not
always
no
come back
longer.
around.
We're not together anymore. If you told me no, we're not together
That's
anymore.
crazy, baby.
It is what it is. You said yes. You had nothing to worry about, and I had nothing to worry about. It's all good.
See how men think?
Yo, but anyway, good one. I'll do this one. I'll ask this next question. Does dating apps mean that you're desperate, or is it an act of being intentional?
See, desperate is that's rough.
So which one you going with?
That's rough.
Is it desperate or intentional?
I think to say someone is desperate is offensive.
A lot of people are desperate.
I think it's offensive.
A lot of people get desperate.
I think it's offensive.
Women get test tube babies. Women freeze their eggs because they're desperate to have kids. Not again.
Ooh, the internet is gonna come for you.
That's all right. I mean, obviously there's physical restrictions, right?
Right.
Age, and when I'm saying desperate, I don't mean like, you know what I'm saying. But desperation, out of desperation, you act a certain way.
Right.
So is it desperation or intentional?
So I guess I think assertive, right? Like I think we should change it to
desperate and assertive is two different things.
Right.
Intentional and assertive
is
would be more closer.
thing. Right.
Desperate is the opposite of it, which is what we want.
Right. Okay. So I don't think it means that you're desperate.
Okay.
I think it's you simply being assertive and intentional about what you want. Right. Like I think when you say the word desperate, there's a negative connotation associated with it, and maybe that. If you do feel like you're desperate, right, there puts a level of urgency behind it, right? There puts a level of urgency behind meeting somebody. But I think it's more of a mindset behind being desperate that makes you feel like you're willing to accept anything. And that is what I disagree with, right? So I think being intentional, being assertive, being aggressive, being forward moving is one thing. And I do think that you should be that way when you're seeking a partner. I think when you feel like you're desperate, it means you're willing to accept anybody that's willing to be with you. And I disagree with that.
I get that. Makes perfect sense and good distinction. I don't think it's neither desperation or intentional. I think that it's new. They tried everything else. Everything didn't work. So let me just try new.
Right.
I personally don't think, if you follow us, I don't think dating apps, not that I don't think they work, right? Because obviously they do.
And we can pull up the stats because I feel like we pulled up the stats on this and they said 80% have led to a relationship or marriage. That's a high number. Dating apps are winning. They're winning.
Yeah. Whatever the stats are, I think we did look it up, but and no disrespect to anybody that's out there in dating apps, find your love, find your peace.
I am an advocate for dating.
She is.
I am.
And she's never been on a dating app, so I don't even know what she's talking about.
That's a fact.
I've never been on a dating app myself. No, I don't think I will ever even download it on my phone.
I am an advocate for dating apps.
I'm an advocate for finding people in your normal day life. Like I want to see what you. My problem is I can't see you with your weave not in when you're on your worst day on these apps. On the apps, it's all glitz and glam.
Right.
I want to see you in your natural habitat, acting like your natural self,
right.
and view you from afar and be like, you know what? I dig this chick. I could see myself doing with it. On the dating app, everything is so polished to me. I don't think it's real.
That's hard, right? Because I think when you meet anyone for the most part, right? Like you're seeing them at their best, most instances, unless you're meeting them.
You're around them all the time.
Right. But what's the likelihood that you're meeting somebody, if you're meeting someone new, you're not around them all the time, right? And then transparently as a woman, I want to see you at your best. I don't want to see you.
You've said this before.
Yeah. Like if I'm just meeting you, yes, put on for me. And also too, I'm going to put on for you. I'm not expecting anything of you that I myself am not going to do. If you're taking me out on a date, I'm getting my hair done, my nails done. I'm going to look presentable. And if that's polished to you, that's okay. And eventually we'll build up to a point where you're going to see me at my raw state. But I think it's necessary. I think showing up as your best self. And if that means...
I get that, baby. I don't mean, okay, we're going on a date. I'm coming on a date in sweatpants and slides.
Right.
What I mean is not being my true self. If, for instance, right, if I show up for our first date, right, and This is our first date. So I'm putting on for you, like you said, putting on. So I take you to this 5-6-star restaurant. I'm in this suit. I rent a Bugatti. This is just me being extra. I like to be extra when I'm painting the picture. I rent a Bugatti. We got the wind blowing in our hair. Yeah, wind blowing in your hair. And I create this
facade,
this experience for you. And then we get together and I'd not tell you I don't like spending money on food. This is what I'm just saying. That's what I mean by polished. The overly polished image version of yourself is what just like Instagram. Everything you see on Instagram, everybody is happy, smiling, unless your page is about really like, whatever type of that's what I mean by polished.
Right.
I don't mean like don't show up as your best self, but the overly.
Well, I think right when it comes to dating apps, first of all, I think it's just how people meet in today's day and age. I don't think as many people go to the club. Like, what if you're not a club person? Like,
you went on a date with a DM before? Somebody ever slid into your date in your DM and you went on a date with them? Or was Instagram a thing? How long ago this? 10 years ago.
10 years ago now.
What was popping back then?
Facebook.
MySpace. Not MySpace. That was way
Facebook.
Facebook. So Instagram wasn't really, really, really popping like that then. I'm just trying to figure out. Anyway, go ahead. Because I'm like, the DM, people slide in your DM and you meet that way. All right, go ahead.
I've definitely had people slide in my DM. I haven't actually gone on a date with any of them.
I always say, people are crazy.
Yeah, they are.
I want to meet people in real life, man. Yeah. This whole Instagram and seeing people online.
I think it's easier to have that perspective as a guy, but I think that from a woman's perspective, like, a lot of men don't just fall out the sky. And sometimes as a woman, especially me, like I'm a homebody.
Men don't fall
they don't just fall out the sky. Like I think you have to be.
Women fall out the sky.
No, but I think you're more likely to like run into a beautiful woman than a guy that like is over 6 foot, has a job. Like I know, right? Like I don't know. Yes. Like goes to church.
Those guys don't fall out the sky either, because that's not average height. You know that, right? Although you might like to think that over 6 foot is not average height.
Yeah.
So those definitely not falling out the sky.
I'm 5'11". I'm damn near 6 foot with sneakers on, baby. You should be at least 6 foot for me.
Okay,
like,
go ahead.
I'm tall.
It's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
The 666 rule. Remember that topic?
Yeah. But back to what we were talking about. I don't know. I don't think it makes you desperate. Like I said, I think being desperate is a mindset.
I love your explanation of it.
I think when you're coming to the table, even just feeling desperate, like you need to take a few steps backwards. I think you need to take a moment of self-reflection and just put that word in a box and shoot it. Like,
you want to know when women start to get desperate? As they get older.
Well, absolutely, right? That's why we have our powwow women. Like I feel like I'm trying to like.
I think a lot of women do get desperate, unfortunately.
Yeah.
As they age.
Yeah.
And again, like I said, a double standard.
Yeah.
A man that's older with none of this stuff going on, no kids, is looked at as high valued.
And
a woman is looked at. Go ahead. I tell you, she's not feelings today.
No. Some men, it's not my feeling. Some men, as they age, they look better. They do. Like, I feel like as you've gotten older, you look better. No offense. I don't know if that sounds offensive.
I still look younger. I look younger than I am.
It's not. No. It's not even about a looking young thing. It's not that. It's more of, I don't know. Maybe just my taste is changing, right? But I think as some men get older, they become more attractive. Like my daddy fine. He like 60. He is. My daddy put on, he's a handsome older man. Like he got his suit on. When he be trying, I'm like, damn, that's crazy. And I'm not just saying that like because he's my dad. But like some men, like as they mature, and maybe it's like the package, right? Like maybe it's how they carry themselves, their confidence. Because if you are 40 or whatever, or 35 or whatever, right? And now you're who you are. There is this confidence in knowing who you are and carrying yourself. You're well dressed, you smell good, you're educated, you know how to speak. There is this, I don't know, charisma to that, right? And there's confidence that exudes when you do carry yourself as that. So some men, they do, age gracefully. They become more attractive. Then you want to know how you're 40 and pregnant. Like, damn, he got me again.
Yeah. And the desperation thing, like the last comment I made about women do get desperate at a certain age.
I think we just need to put the word in a box and just desperate is like.
But again, I'm not saying that it's valid reasons though. Women deal with immensely a lot more pressures than men do as far as kids. If you're 40-something, you ain't been married yet, chances are you're not going to get married. So they do deal with a lot more pressures than men do. Right. 40, I could get married still. Yeah. I could still have kids. 40, it's no 50, pressure. 60. I'm living my best life. Yeah. At that age, most of the time, they say 40s, 50s are the high.
Peak for a man.
For men. Yeah. I think I hit that around 35. 36, 37. Yeah. I think that's not I'm in my peak still, but I think that's when I started my peak.
Nah, I think like 37. Yeah.
But for women, I
can go shopping and he can give me his card and he not sweat. Before he might have sweated. What the fuck? What'd you buy? What'd you get? What'd you store? What store you in?
I still need to know what you buy.
Nah, not so much. He don't sweat as much. Not anymore.
But yeah. So again, just to be clear with the last question is, you think it's an act of being intentional? I loved your explanation of the two between desperation and intentional. Yeah. I agree with you. I thought that it was neither. I just think that they tried everything else. And they want to try something new. It's like, okay, I tried this didn't work. I tried this didn't work. Let me try the dating app.
Yeah.
And I think people do that.
I think that, so here's my perspective, right? I think dating apps allow women to have a certain level of confidence. Men? And men. Okay. Sorry, it goes both ways. I think it allows women and men to have a certain level of confidence because believe it or not, right? Like to your point, when you have dated multiple people and it hasn't worked out, you tend to look at yourself and say, is it me? Like, is something wrong with me, right? Which affects your confidence. Like, like you feel...
Give you confidence again?
Because it shows you that people are interested. So the dating apps, right. Okay. So like the dating apps, it allows you to...
Instagram like picture shit. You look at validation from...
Right, but that validation...
It's false.
That, needless to say, whether it's false or not, that validation, it still does make you feel good, right? Like, so I do think the dating apps do pour into you in that way. And so I'm not going to lie, I have encouraged a lot of my female friends to go on dating apps. And I'm a huge advocate for them just because I think if it does nothing, it gets you out the house. It allows you to go on dates. It builds your confidence and allows you to know that you're a bad bitch. And I think that that's so important. That confidence, like it allows you... Like self-confidence affects everything. It affects how you allow people to talk to you, it affects how, self-confidence affects how you allow people to talk to you. It affects how you carry yourself. It affects how you present yourself to the world, right? And so if a dating app does that for you, like let's say you are not that person that's overly confident, right? Like that by nature, there are some women that have always been complimented that, have exude this confidence because they're beautiful, whatever, pretty privilege. But let's say you're not that person. And then you get on this app and you're like, oh my God, like these people think that I'm beautiful. And now it boosts your self-confidence, right? Whether the relationships work out or not, it got you out the house, right? Like it allowed you to feel beautiful about yourself or made you think like, wow, like I'm a great person. And that validation affects everything. And I do think that, believe it or not, I don't think that it's just a struggle that women go through. I do think it's something that men also go through as well. And I think that's why the apps are successful.
I think it works. And that's final thoughts because time is running out. But I think it works if people, like somewhat to your point, aren't social or like socially awkward or they're not social butterflies. Right. They're not able to they don't have confidence, like you said, to approach people in real life. Just kind of like break the ice. At least you have some things in similar.
Right. At least you know that you find. I find it's crazy, but when you match on the app. When you match on the app, at least you know that I find you attractive, you find me attractive. There's some type of compatibility there. I also feel like, I've had this conversation with my friends, and even if they see someone in person that they don't find attractive, I'm sorry. Even if they find someone in person that they do find attractive, they're less likely to approach them because they don't want to be shot down. Mm-hmm. So even if you're in the same room, same space with somebody that you find attractive and you would like to get to know because of this fear of rejection, you're less likely to go up to them. So at what point are you meeting somebody? Like, at what point do you find your husband or do you find your wife? Like, when does that happen?
I get that. And again, for me, I guess I never had to deal with that because I'll talk to anybody at any time.
But you're a confident person. And some people... some people are shy. Some people have been rejected. Some people fear rejection. Like, there's so much that goes into that. And I think the dating apps genuinely wholeheartedly remove a lot of that. And if it does nothing but get you out the house for a free drink, excuse me, don't kill me, guys. But like, if you go, let me not even say free, excuse me, because you can buy your own drink. And I don't feel like hearing the men today. So it's like, let's say, it does nothing, other than that, like, if it leads to something beautiful, amazing. My cousin got married off of Hinge. Like, his wife, I feel like she don't even notice if she watches, she in the top 3 of best friends at this point. Like, I talk to my cousin wife more than I talk to my cousin. Like, I get excited about things and feel like, oh, I gotta go call his wife. Like, so it's just, I think I have just seen, the beauty of it. And I've seen, it really bring the best out of people. I'm not dismissing anybody that has experienced any type of tragedies from it, because every experience has its negatives, right?
For sure.
And so my heart goes out to people that have had bad experiences. I'm not dismissing anybody or anybody's experience for that matter, but I do think it's important to put yourself out there, and it's a modern way to do that.
Yeah. All right, cool. I think that's it for the day. Take us out, baby.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in to Couples Chronicles with
your boy Lloyd
and Afiya. I want you guys to like, subscribe, and share at Couples Chronicles Podcast.
See you guys next time. Peace.